I have a small window of opportunity to film this. My son's drawing a comic book. My wife and I team up to take on some of the best things streaming has to offer. Welcome back for more of Our Thoughts. No time for binging. We continue through the Umbrella Academy Season 1, this time with Episode 7, entitled The Day That Was. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share this video with someone who might like it. And hit that notification bell. A flashback of a baby being born in 1989. They say Mr. Jenkins has a son. It's the same voiceover as Episode 1. Wife says juxtaposition. I'm like, what? She says she'll explain later. He was a very average child, and his mother died in childbirth. This boy grows up obsessed with the Umbrella Academy. He has almost all their toys. This is Harold Jenkins. We're shown his father to be gruff, a drinker, and abusive. This kid is beyond obsessed with the Umbrella Academy, to the point of making his own uniform. Oh, this boy is ready to join. He was born on the same day as the other children, but has no powers to speak of. Sir Reggie shuts this down immediately. Not everyone in this world can be powerful. Get off my property. Ooh, this is how supervillains are born. If you haven't already figured it out, this kid is Leonard Peabody. Man, this boy's dad is in for it now. He doesn't know that his kid just turned supervillain. Hammer to the head. Oh my goodness, this is overly violent. He got 12 years in prison. I don't know how that works out with the timeline. My word, this is Joker-level craziness. We see Leonard Harold outside the mansion as Klaus throws out Sir Reggie's journal into that dumpster. This is how Leonard got the journal. Show title reveal on one of the pages of the journal. Wife points out that there was a similar villain narrative to how Syndrome from The Incredibles turned into a villain. Pixar did it first. Back in the present. Who the hell is Harold Jenkins? Again, this is the day that was. Leonard still steals the figurine, but this time he knows the rest of the Academy has the name Harold Jenkins. Vanya still discovers her powers, but this time Five ends up explaining to the siblings what the commission is, and the background towards his plan. Everything about us is insane. Five convinces the family to join. Luther still believes it has something to do with the moon. Wife points out that Klaus usually wants to tag along, but this time Diego invited him. Klaus bows out, feeling under the weather. Perhaps Diego actually appreciates Klaus tagging along. They all leave, and Luther once again is the last one remaining. Cut to Hazel and Cha-Cha. Hazel still needs a hit of sucrose. This is his side of the story. Pneumatic tube time. This time it's his message to kill Cha-Cha. Diego brings Five and Allison to the police station. Diego claiming to be the leader in this situation? I don't like it. Guy detective, I never learned his name, tells Diego that he's a prime suspect in Eudora's murder. Diego convinces Guy detective to give him the file on Harold Jenkins. Wife points out that Diego stuttered while talking to Guy detective. Ever so subtly, the emotion of losing his mom and Eudora is getting the better of him, and it seems his progress is reverting back a peg. Allison calls Vanya and leaves her a heartfelt message, but all I can think about was the technology of a payphone and an answering machine. Diego gets the file, and they immediately realize Harold Jenkins is Leonard Peabody. Now this plot is moving. Back at the mansion, a quick recap of Luther finding out that his dad never read any of his messages from the moon. Pogo's CGI is distracting. Yada yada yada. But this time, Klaus wants Luther to tie him up. I love the overlap of this episode compared to the one before. It's like we know what's going to happen, but we don't. This is a fun scene. We haven't gotten many scenes with Luther and Klaus. Luther wants Klaus to conjure their dad. Klaus says he's tried, but Sir Reggie is stubborn. Can the dead refuse to be conjured? I've never thought about that concept in this universe. This is such a sweet scene between Luther and Klaus, but Klaus's pants reveal the side leg that's distracting. Luther ugly cries. Luther is mad about what their dad did to him while talking to the guy that got locked in a tomb as a kid. Luther is going to cut loose. Repeat of the old Yeller scene in the woods with Hazel and Cha-Cha. These scenes should play out exactly as they did in the previous episode, but this time from Hazel's perspective. I am really liking this. Hazel tying his shoes was him loading his gun. I knew he was up to something. While Cha-Cha has the gun pulled on Hazel, he gives an interesting mini-speech until he's distracted by a bird. What a twitcher. Hazel wants the simpler life with a partner. His speech seemingly changes Cha-Cha's mind again, and Hazel goes back to Gritty's again. 5 Allison and Diego at Leonard's house. Allison goes around the side of the house. 5 teleports. Diego jumps through the window. Classic Diego. They search the house and Allison goes right for the attic ladder. Diego discovers a flyer on the fridge of Vanya's orchestra performance. Wait, she just got first chair. How do they already have flyers printed up? When did Vanya do a photo shoot? Allison finds all of the Umbrella Academy paraphernalia in the attic, but their faces are burnt off and their eyes are scratched out. Leonard is Ray Finkel level obsessed. Please comment if you get that reference. Lace is out. 5 collapses from the gunshot that he got from the commission while fleeing in the previous episode. Leonard and Vanya at Grandma's cabin. In the previous episode, they went back to Leonard's house. That was where Vanya discovered the journal under the bed. But now Leonard knows they know the name Harold Jenkins, and they will eventually piece it together, so he changes his course of action. Apparently, they came to the cabin to learn what Vanya is capable of. Leonard convinces Vanya that she's waited long enough to see what she can do. Hazel tells Agnes that he's leaving and wants her to come with him. Hazel is done playing the games of this corporate messed up world that he's a part of. Agnes agrees to go with him? Wow, you've only known him a few days. Who are you, Vanya? And Agnes just goes for it. They have this embrace/kiss where Hazel holds her up in the air way too long. He wants her to be ready by tomorrow, but we don't know what happens after Hazel knocked out Cha-Cha yet. Ben is trying to convince Klaus that he can do this and bring Luther home. Ben is such a cool character. Klaus giving excuses, and Ben has to pep talk him up. Allison and Diego carry 5 back into the mansion. They need to get the shrapnel out. Oh, the mom's a nurse, isn't she? Oh, right. Diego didn't know that she was alive again. Remember from the previous episode they took that walk in the park? This is a redo of him seeing her alive again. Klaus and Ben finally find Luther in a rave club. I hate this place. Thank you, Klaus. This is torture. Luther is in the middle of the dance floor, rocking out. His dance moves are questionable, but he's owning it. Wife points out that no matter how this day went, Luther still ends up in a dance scene. She again uses the word juxtaposition. Wife explains that in the last episode, Luther had this romantic, intimate dance with Allison, but in this episode, Luther has a barbaric, lustful dance with a girl that he just met. The two Luthers are juxtaposed. They contrast each other. She then asks me which Luther I prefer. I don't have an answer for her just yet, but I'm sure it has something to do with preferring Klaus. Klaus just wants to get him home. I'm assuming Luther's on ecstasy. Klaus throws the pill that Luther offers him. Good for you, Klaus. You can do this. If I were in that club, I would be crying on the floor with Klaus. No, Klaus, don't go for the pill. I'm reminded of those Saturday morning cartoon specials about not doing drugs. He crawls over to the pill and they intersplice soldiers running through like they were in Vietnam until Klaus finds/imagines Dave dying again. Best relationship in this show. Mom is nursing 5 back to health. Wife wonders who set up Dolores on the couch like a concerned wife. Diego and Allison agree to continue investigating. Diego has the address of the cabin in the woods, but the cops are after Diego. Why doesn't Allison just use her power on the cops? Come on! The cops capture Diego and Allison goes after Vanya. Vanya and Leonard on the docks outside the cabin. Leonard coaching Vanya is so weird. He's being really persistent. What does he want in the end? For her to use her power to destroy everyone who's wronged him? Vanya tries to use her powers like she was in the X-Men. She cracks up thinking how ridiculous she looks. And Leonard looks a bit cranky. Hazel back at the motel. He calls out for Cha. It's so weird just hearing that single Cha. Hazel finds the half-burnt termination letter that Cha-Cha got. That's a rookie move. Burn the whole thing next time, Cha. Man, these two are really not trained hitmen. If Hazel can just hide behind a curtain and not be seen. And he knocks out Cha-Cha. Again. Back at the rave club with Klaus. In all of this humanity and craziness, Klaus somehow sees the guy who's going over to wreck Luther. How? But Klaus jumps on his back, gets thrown off, hits his head, and then he disappears into another world. Where the heck is he? What's with the accordion music? Some girl on a bike rides up. This girl does not like Klaus. Is this girl God? Is that what they're implying? Wife says, if not God, then perhaps some being that was responsible for those kids all being spontaneously born at the same time. This is so weird. She says he's waiting for you. Yeah, let's play the pronoun game. Klaus believes that it's Dave. He goes into some structure and shows up in an old-timey barber shop. What is with those pictures on the wall? They look like portraits of the Umbrella Academy. And then Klaus sits in a chair and is getting set up for a shave? And Sir Reggie is the one who's gonna shave him? Sir Reggie's mad that Klaus didn't conjure him days ago. Even in death, Sir Reggie is so harsh with him. He says that Klaus is already dead. Sir Reggie defends his actions by saying that he was trying to get him to live up to his potential. This shaving scene is so weird, unnerving, but amazing. So Sir Reggie was preparing them to save the world. Sir Reggie knew he had to bring them all back together. He killed himself to bring the kids back together to stop the apocalypse. He knew about the apocalypse. And before Sir Reggie can give more important information, Klaus wakes up back in the rave club. Where is Luther? Leonard and Vanya walk out of a restaurant. Some stereotypical drunk morons are drinking on Leonard's car. As they threaten, they begin to beat the crap out of Leonard. And it starts raining unexpectedly. And Vanya X-Men's the crap out of these guys. She went full Jean Grey to knock them out with her power. What the heck, Kitty Pryde? Cha-Cha wakes up to hear Hazel's confession of wanting out and getting the order to kill her. She is not buying it. The world is ending, and they have a job to do. She tries to convince them that they have the best job in the world. Visit exotic places, meeting interesting people, killing those people. I'd rather have 3 days with her than 3,000 with you. That was actually a really sweet line. I mean, if he didn't have a gun on her ready to kill. Cha-Cha hardcore threatens to kill Agnes and Hazel if he lets her live. And Hazel walks out on an amazing musical cue. I love this album. It's the only Radiohead I own. Allison driving in the rain, Klaus and Ben walking in the alley, Luther making out with that girl, Diego in jail, Five recovering from a gunshot, Anya in the hospital waiting for Leonard and remembering her power scene. This show ends on some pretty good montages. And we find out that Leonard's eye is all patched up. I forgot about that eyeball thing, to be honest. And we end on Allison still driving, I'm assuming, to the cabin in the woods. As a viewer, I love to see these puzzle pieces coming together. Theory: what if the commission was responsible for Leonard/Harold's mother dying? Think about it. It sounds like something they do. They orchestrate the death of the mom, knowing that the dad would turn to alcohol and be abusive. Their son would turn his desires to join the family that all have the same birthday as him. Dominoes on dominoes. Which is ironic because the masks that the kids wore are called domino masks. Mind blown. Wife tells me that I'm using the word ironic incorrectly. Fine. Juxtaposed. And the sound of a lamp falling over in the other room means that we're out of time. Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And join us next time as we review episode 8, entitled I Heard a Rumor. Hopefully Allison will finally use her power in this one.